there for me to clean. If you warm and sugar.
I've been watching another South that I took to work. And I just really feel like finishing it. When I looked up and saw what time it was. It's still in the green. Look how low it was this morning. Way low. Down to 50.
There I am. Okay, good evening, people and audience and everyone involved. We are here to begin with, prior to our regular meeting, to have some discussion and all regarding the proposed, at this point, tax rate for the funding that funds the Children's Trust. And we are looking at a couple of different options here that we'll be discussing this evening. I have received 2 requests to speak. If there are other people who would like to speak, we would certainly like to encourage that and welcome that. The form to fill out is pretty simple. It's over here where you see the hand sanitizer on the table. Fill that form out. You can hand it in to Alma or one of the staff in the front. They'll hand it to me, and then during the public discussion, we'll certainly welcome you all. We'll step to the podium here. We have a 3-minute limit on time for the sake that immediately following this meeting, scheduled at 5:30, we will be having our usual board meeting. So, but we do want to encourage and invite everyone's comments and participation with it. So, this is, again, the Escambia Children's Trust preliminary. There will be another follow-up trim public hearing, and I'm going to call this to order now at 5:02. Ms. Ellis, will you please proceed with the roll call?
Thank you. I have Tina Kane as excused. Mr. Leonard? Here. Commissioner May? Dr. Northup?
Here.
Ms. White? Here. Mr. Williams?
Here.
I have the judge as excused and Ms. Woods.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, we'll be calling for public comments later. We'll begin the public hearing on the proposed millage rate for 25-26. Our fiscal year runs from October 1 through September 30th of the year. So we've got a little bit of time before we finish out this fiscal year, and what we are going to be discussing again is the millage rate for the upcoming fiscal year that will provide funds for the Children's Trust. And along those lines, Ms. Cannon, do you have any comments at this point?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Dr. Northup. So, wanted to just talk about some updates since our workshop that we had as a board, where we were discussing particular issues going on in our community related to cuts in funding for our Early Learning Coalition, closure of program and cuts related to Head Start, and then also other special projects that were going to be coming our way that we have been meeting about. One of the things that we've been able to do since that workshop is meet with all of those folks and really kind of get an understanding of what the cuts, if any, to our early childhood system looks like would be. What I will tell you is we had some good news just today. In fact, from the Early Learning Coalition, although they're sustaining a cut, it's about half of what they thought it was going to be. And the gap that they are experiencing, they were thinking before would be 400 to 500 kids. They've been able to look at that through attrition to see, and the gap would be around 140 children. That's significantly different, and that's going to be a lot less funding if we do decide as the trust to put in dollars there to make sure that our working families still have the care that they need for their children. We've also met with Head Start. We had a conversation about what their match looks like and what a proposal would look like around that. I feel like there is a whole lot of other match that they'll be bringing to the table around in-kind, and Tammy, of course, is a guru with that, so we'll be able to really look at that. So what I do want to share with you is when we started really hearing those things as we're going through mental health renewals that we'll be talking about at our regular board meeting tonight, we are going to be recapturing dollars, and we're not going to have to dedicate dollars that we were thinking might be significant cuts in our community. And those were major drivers, I would say, from the workshop for us saying we need to stay at our same millage rate, because we were somewhat, well, not somewhat, I know I expressed that I was very worried about our working families and the safety of our kids. But it doesn't look like we're going to have to stick with the same millage to manage those crises, if you will, in our community. So we do have the opportunity to go back to rollback. I will tell you, we also have entertained a lot of phone calls at our office, not just me. Tammy's spoken with people, Alma's spoken with people that have called. They've been completely wonderful and asked a lot of really, really in-depth questions about what we do. And I will tell you, I felt really comfortable with the conversations. We do have a lot that are grandparents in our community. We have folks that are on fixed incomes, and this does create a burden for them, but they love what we're doing for kids. And so I will tell you that I felt good about every one of those conversations, but I think we need to look at that whole picture as a board too. If we can still meet the needs of our kids at rollback, I would ask you to strongly consider that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cannon. Now, do we have questions and/or discussion from the board meeting? Again, we'll be looking at considering and recommending either the current millage rate, which is what discussion came out of the workshop to do that, and based in large part, again, on the variables that Ms. Cannon has just outlined, several of which we have found, fortunately, are going to have less negative impact than what we were thinking. And so the other alternative is to look at a rollback proposal or rollback rate, which would decrease the amount of funding that we would get, but would still felt to be adequate to meet our obligations, responsibilities, and help the community continue these things. Questions or further comments from the board? I have a question, and you know what it's going to have to do with, which is the northern part of our county right off the bat, and the closure of the Head Start program up in that part of our county, and that impact, and where any of these variables that you just mentioned and updates might impact on that particular program.
Absolutely. I've met with the mayor up there. We had really great, like a 2-hour conversation really
Right.
about what's going on in that community. He is concerned about childcare. He does understand the reasons why that closed, but they also have employees in that community too that are trained, and his desire really is to build out some providers essentially in there, which I think we could do with the Early Learning Coalition. You know, if we're able to support, not necessarily financially, but as a partner, help bring some people to the table. He also was expressing that there were a lot of youth in that community that he sees at the summer that are, you know, walking around. They don't have a whole lot to do. And so he's really started bringing in that youth sports aspect, baseball particularly. So you baseball people I know will love that. But he really wants to see a more robust sports network up there and opportunities for their youth just outside of the high school. So some of that rec ball and a variety of ways and has been working with Pensacola State College, I think, on that and facilities. So there will be opportunities as we go to like out of school time, looking at our next RFPs, that we have the opportunity to bonus points, if you will, around those RFPs for those that are serving areas that are currently underserved. And I think that's really not any different than we did with the CARES grants. If you had a focus on juvenile delinquency and making sure that our kids and youth violence was reduced, you got extra points on that for doing a project like that. And, you know, I think that a lot of them were very successful this summer. So what I will say is those are ongoing conversations. Dave, that's now the city administrator up there, is someone that's engaged with the trust before, so I've already connected back with him to start discussions. So there's movement there. We just need to find out what kind of things that they really want in that community and who would be best suited to apply and come to the table. But I know that that early childhood piece and then youth sports were the two that they really hinted on to me. So.
I know the mayor up there appears to be very interested and proactive, and Megan and I were just looking that apparently Dave Merzen has now signed his employment contract as the first ever city manager up there as well. And so it sounds like they're trying to bring some organization structure and be looking not just at us, but countywide and even statewide for grants and funding and other support to help stabilize and grow that area. So that is certainly encouraging. So the question before us as the board, welcome Commissioner, is looking at do we have more in favor of sticking with our current millage, and or is there more inclined to look towards the rollback to the lesser amount that is felt to still be certainly adequate and sufficient to meet the board's needs at this time?
Is this when you want a motion? Or have we do have public comment first?
Well,
Okay. I would prefer the rollback rate. I feel like that we, just like what Ms. Cannon said, that we're going to have, we have some great news in the community, and that we've also been able to recapture some funds. But I also want the public to know that the trust is making a difference. We had that Civic Con, you had the providers come up. We've seen schools go, it takes a village. We've seen schools go from C's to B's, B's to A's, and it takes a village. And we've seen the number of arrests go down, the number of gun violence go down in the past year. And it's not just because of us. I know that, but it's also everyone works together. And so the money is making a difference even. So, but I know that people are struggling financially. So rollback rate was what I would go for. So.
appreciate that. Other comments, input?
Can I ask a question of what you said, so I can understand?
Oh, I said for the rollback rate.
Okay, so as opposed to what I got in the mail about a 1/3 increase in
It's not, just 1 second. Oh, I'll let you answer. It's not time for discussion yet, sir.
No, I just want to understand if you're saying you're not looking at the 1/3 increase, you're suggesting something else or not. You will address my comments, but I'm not sure what you're saying.
She is actually in favor of the rollback rate decreasing the amount, but still having adequate amount to meet the needs of the community, the programs that we've already committed to, and in large part on the comments that Lindsay was making, that the number of these grants like the Early Learning Coalition and some others were being, if I can use the word, threatened with facing significant cuts to their operation. That, for example, the Early Learning Coalition itself was facing cuts that were going to require decreasing the students' services by up to 400 children. Now, because of some legislative funding changes as the session rolled through and other things, the update now is that they are looking at still a decrease, but in the range of 140 children. And that looks like a number that we will be able to address without needing to even stay with the current amount, much less increase the millage. We have what the voters approved early on was up to a 0.5% millage rate. We have currently, the current millage rate is at 0.04043, and the rollback rate will go down to 0.03798.
That's what I thought I heard her saying. I wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate asking for that clarification. And along those lines, any other thoughts regarding the decision? Again, this is the preliminary hearing and things, but it's still to help allow public awareness, public comments, public feedback, as well as discussion among the board here. And we will be having a follow-up meeting as well. But now the discussion is leaning more towards current or more towards the rollback rate. Ms.
I've
Woods.
always been in favor of the rollback rate, so I still am in favor of the rollback rate.
Okay, thank you. Others on the board?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, Lindsay, you're very confident that we'll still be able to offer the services to the community at the rollback rate?
Yes, sir. We've done that 5-year plan that we looked at, and so that's a moving plan. Like Tammy adjusts that all the time related to unspent dollars. We don't ever collect 100% of the taxes, but sometimes we get more than we were expecting. So we have variables in there, but based on those meetings that we're having and the information that we've been given, I feel confident. We might have to make some tough decisions on funding some other things as a board, but I'd rather have a tough decision and us be able to still support some of those things that are definite necessities in our community. But as a team, I think we all feel very comfortable with that.
I think Tammy was sharing with me also just prior to this meeting that we have had yet further turn in of funding. That is one thing for you all to understand, is that as we get to the end of fiscal years, if funded programs have not utilized all of their funds, those monies revert back to the trust, where we then have the ability to use those funds to supply other providers, to supplement all the services or that type of thing. So those monies do not go out just in one direction and they're done with whatever may happen. They get expended for the contracted service in the ways that are monitored by the staff. And if at the end of that fiscal year, all of those funds have not been utilized according to the contract and to achieve the services that they were meant to, those funds do revert to the trust. And so we've just had a reversion of a significant amount of those dollars. And so it's that type of thing also that comes in that helps us be able to fund all of the various providers that are needed, and those that may be even exceeding the provision of services. They've had more children involved than they thought, or they're needing more supplies or whatever it may be, have an opportunity to come back to the board and request a consideration for the provision of additional funding or conditional funding. So that is another source that continues to come in and be available to us, and more importantly, available to the community to achieve the purpose that you all as taxpayers and that we all as taxpayers intended those monies to be spent for. So with that in mind, it sounds like we have a desire from the board here to move towards the rollback rate. And as I discussed earlier, the proposed millage rate under the rollback will be decreasing to 0.03798, which is a 0% increase over the rollback rate of the 0.39%. And the total millage for that will be 0.03798. I know there's a lot of decimals there, and all the operating millage rate will be the same. And I will be reading the resolution for that as proposed. In my packet. Here, thank you. Lots of papers up here. A resolution of the Escambia Children's Trust adopting the tentative millage rate to be levied for the 2025 tax year, declaring that the percentage change in the property tax levy as defined under Florida statute section 200.065 whereas pursuant to that chapter and the Escambia County Ordinance, the Escambia Children's Trust of Escambia County, Florida, held the first public hearing to consider the proposed millage rate to be levied for the 2025 tax year in order to raise sufficient revenues for the fiscal year ending, as I said, it runs from October 1 through to September 30th of 2026. And those are the revenues that we are talking about generating through this millage rate. And therefore be it resolved that the proposed millage rate to be levied in order to produce sufficient ad valorem taxation revenue, which when combined with other projected general revenue funds will be adequate to pay the appropriations in the budget for that fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026 shall be the operating millage rate of 0.03798, with the total millage rate of 0.03798. The tentative operating millage rate of 0.03798 will result in a property tax increase of 0% over the rollback rate of 0.03798 computed according to the procedure set forth under Chapter 200.065 of the Florida statutes. Now, following on all of that, a second public hearing and the final resolution is presently scheduled for September 22nd of this month, 2025 at 5:01, and that will be held, Lindsay and others, here in this boardroom at 5:01, September 22nd, 2025, and duly adopted in regular session the 10th day of September, today of 2025. So, and again, touching on the first part of that, the resolution adopting the tentative millage rate. Okay. Now, after reading of that, and thank you, Ms. White, now will be the time for our public comment. Hopefully, that will have clarified things to some extent, but I still would like to, I am going to, with there being two ladies first. So, Mary Konepka, is that even close to things? Okay. Comments?
Okay. Just let me take care of my sugar real quick.
Okay. If you need some time, I could call Mr. Waldo if you would prefer.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mary Konopka. I am wanting Children's Trust to go back to ballot. I understand what you're doing. That money's my money. It's everybody's money. It doesn't fix everything with every child, and it should. In these difficult financial times, I think that it would be much better for people to select what they can support, what they want to support. And if they just need the money to support themselves, because the county is looking at some huge increases. So I think it's fair that this go back to vote, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next individual requesting comment is Mr. Michael Waldo.
By the way, thank you for the clarification. You just eliminated about a third of what I had to say. But you may not like what I do have to say. Good afternoon. I'm here to speak because I looked at my proposed tax assessment and saw a proposed increase of one-third, over 30%. I didn't know what Children's Trust was, so I tried to research it on the internet. Far and away, what I found was reports that showed bad management of a funding which was voted on with good intentions by the public. I can skip my original comments about considering a possible increase. Thank you for eliminating a lot. However, from my research, I will quote from a WEAR report dated May 21st, and I suspect you're probably all well aware of it. In that report, 88% of the expenditures by this board was for salary and benefits. I'm going to refer to that as administrative. Thus, about 11% went to actually benefiting the children. In the article, Lindsay Cannon responded that it was actually 58%, and she gave some details and mentioned some grants the board gets out. I don't know what math you used, but my opinion, if the Children's Trust gives out a grant of $100,000 to some group or organization, and that group or organization has 65% of their expenditure is salary and administration, then guess what? 65,000 of that money ought to be counted as part of your. So I don't know how you come up with your calculation, but whether it's 88% or 58% or something in between, such as 75%, that amount sounds like poor fiscal responsibility by this fund. If a fund's, my opinion, if a fund's expenditures provide less than 75% to the actual beneficiaries, then that board is doing a bad job. I also support the thought that I saw that possibly the county commissioners might consider an independent audit of this board's expenditures and to make such a audit report, detailed report public. But basically, guys, y'all are spending way too much on administrative. Shame on you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else has got any comments or anything at this point?
Submitted it, so it was submitted. I guess, really,
Yes.
Mark Hearn, really, I guess a lot was answered. One, my concern was that the millage rate was going up to a maximum of 5.5%, and instead now it seems to be voting to go back to the rollback. So that addresses that concern. My other concern was basically what was just covered. Reporting that lots of, or the majority of the money dispersed is being used for salaries or benefits instead of for actual, good to children. And that was concerning to me that, one, the amount was going to be going up, and that's a concern going on right now that needs to be investigated. Hopefully there is a investigation into that. But even at the current rate, if there's that type of abuse or whatever going on, I mean, I would vote to abolish the whole thing. But that all needs to be looked into. So that was my concerns. Thank you very much.
Chairman, may I speak?
Yes.
Both the last two gentlemen, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and speak to us. I would love for you both to come to a program committee meeting. I think that if you were able to attend one of those and really be able to get into what the programs do, and I think that will help you understand a little more of how things work and how it looks. Because initially when we first talked about the trust, I am on the board currently, but I had a lot of questions And sometimes the reports or what is said doesn't really explain how everything looks. And so this is everyone's money, and I know you guys are very passionate about what is going on. There are a lot of people in Escambia County, and you 2 and 3 both actually even showed up to give your opinion. So I would love to hear your input. We also do have, in the next year, grants that we vote on. We do allow people to apply to sit on those committees to read through those grants and help us make those decisions. So I would love for you guys to even look at, possibly applying to see how we do it, what the process is, how we look at the grants, how we judge the grants. You get to score the grants. So I think if you were able to even come to that programs committee and see how that work is done, it would better explain the work that we do and what it really looks like, and a breakdown of each actual grant and how that looks. Because this is our board meeting, but we do have a programs committee. So, if you want to give Lindsay your information, I would love for y'all to come and attend that if you are free.
Don't want to take up time here. You have my name and phone number. Please give me a call.
Definitely will. Thank you both.
I would also like to recommend that y'all come to meetings. We'd love to have you, have your input, sit down with Ms. Cannon, and she'll explain to you that article, she'll explain to you the salaries, she'll explain to you everything. So, but thank you for coming, but please come to some of our other meetings as well to see how we actually digest everything.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Sure. I see familiar faces from a long meeting last night with about 45 speakers. Each of you were here, and I certainly appreciate you because I think fiduciary responsibility is critical to an elected person. So thank you all for inquiring about your government. Lindsay, can we just, because obviously this was a topic with us, we had an MSBU, school board has had tax increase. We just did a tax increase. It's weighing heavy. It's the first time since I've been elected that we've had, that many speakers at a public forum about tax increases. But can we just get a point of clarification? I think there's some misunderstanding on exactly how much money is spent on salaries, whether it be consultants, whether it be staff, salary benefits. What is that number? What is that percentage? Because, there's been reporting, as my dear friend there has inquired about, what percentage is it? What percentage is it before we vote on this millage rate? Actually, when we look at overall our staffing, consultants, what is the percentage of money that we're spending on salaries and benefit and overhead versus direct services?
Okay, so I don't have all of that information in front of me, but at our next meeting, we actually review our finances, and for the folks, it is all on the internet. We're audited every single year. Our finances are on there very
So, but
clear.
if it's on the internet, what does it say on the internet? And I only
In
say
our
that
webpage,
because I got beat up last night
We have a brand new
about it.
webpage. You can click on, take me to the data. You can click on any of our financial information. It's all there.
So someone
Very
click on the website
transparent.
then and tell me what percentage it is. And I only say this because I got jumped on last night because I'm a big supporter of the trust. And
Sorry,
so-
I was at an event last night with my son, but I'm looking at, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want the question that I guess that I've been
Our
beaten.
administrative, so of course, the misnomer related to the WEAR article was something related to applications. It was
Yeah,
completely false
I'm not going to hold you because it's
I
on.
know that. What I'm telling you
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
our administrative rate for us as a team is about, I don't know, what is it? Am I looking at it correctly? 5.94. The rest of it is in program, and you have to have people to watch children.
Right, right.
I mean, so I think that there's a very big distinction related to salaries paid to childcare employees, to tutors, to people that are doing mental health counseling. That's going to come out as a salary under a program.
But I think,
As far as our
and
organization.
Liz, I don't mean to cut you off, but I
Yeah.
think when we're voting on millage rates and rollbacks and taxes, that has to be clear. And so it has to be clear, what percentage do we spend on administrative costs? What percentage do we spend on direct costs? Because I think that's what we're hearing from the citizens. And so I'd like, before I vote, just to get an idea, not necessarily what we spend here, but what if they're spending on administrative costs?
So do you want to go through each program? Is that what you want to go through each program?
I mean, it's a pretty simple formula. How much are we spending on administrative costs?
For the trust itself?
No,
or for the program?
overall, I mean, for the allocation of the dollars.
So I have calculated that. I don't have it with me, and it was updated in July when you asked for it before, so I don't have that with me right now. I can tell you that salaries for all of our programs average between 50 and 60%
Okay.
of what their stuff, their things. Our benefits, our salaries and in benefits is about 700,000 for the,
Oh, no, I'm not talking about our trust
Okay.
staff at all.
okay.
Not at all. That's fine. I have the answer I need.
So out of administrative of our programs, they average about 2.5% administrative.
Thanks, Tammy. That's all I need. Thanks.
No, we can't. I just want to say that what you said, Ms. Cannon, is that if we're going to have programs that tutor kids and keep kids off the street in the afternoons and have after-school programs, but that's a salary, and so we have to pay people to do that work.
Yeah, but there's a difference between admin costs and direct services costs. I mean, admin costs is the superintendent and the principal. It's not the teacher and the tutor. And so, and I only say
So
this for
you're
clarification.
asking- okay, that's clarification.
I say that just for the benefit of the citizens. I understand it clearly, Stephanie. But what
know.
I'm saying there's a misnomer to the average citizen of how much money we're spending on admin costs versus direct services. And so I only do that as a point of clarification,
Okay,
not
now I
as a
see.
point of accusation. I do it as a point of clarification because citizens want to understand that, and we have to clearly explain that to them because it's their dollars.
Right, I understand. I thought you were asking for like how
No,
much
I'm-
you pay
no,
the
I'm-
tutors, and I'm like, well, we can't have these.
I'm not talking about tutors.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's a big,
Gotcha.
there's
Well,
a
but
there's a
I
big
think-
difference.
But I think the WA article was a very misnomer, and people read
I don't read the newspaper. I don't
I
listen to
know,
the
but I'm
media,
saying, but
yeah,
obviously
okay.
our constituents read it, and I read it, and so it was very confusing to a lot of people.
Right, and that's
So
why tonight,
we clear it up.
for the benefit of these people who spent 5 hours with me yesterday, who asked these same questions, I was trying to get clarification for them.
Excuse me, what is her name? I can call and ask the question to where she can point you later. Tammy, thank you.
You would have thought they would have brought everything to this meeting.
Okay. Now, if the board is ready to vote, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-12 as recommended by the Finance Committee and as discussed here, allowing for the millage rate of 0.03798, the rollback rate? I have a motion to do that.
Motion.
Okay, second. Motion has been made and seconded. Ms. Ellis, will you take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Leonard? Yes. Commissioner May? Yes. Dr. Northup?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
We have all in favor.
Okay. With a vote then of 6-0, resolution 2025-12 has been approved. At this point, at this time, opening public hearing on proposed budget for 2025-26.
Dr. Northup, you're only required to read the top dark portion of the resolution.
All
Just
right.
to save you a little bit of breath there.
My last page. Okay, resolution 2025-12, a resolution of the Escambia Children's Trust adopting tentative millage rate to be levied and declaring the percentage change in the property tax
Dr.
levy as.
Northup, we need to read 13 for the budget.
Excuse me.
No
I'll say
problem.
I have covered that one. Here we go. My apologies. Resolution of the Escambia Children's Trust adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026, again going from October 1 of 2025 until September 30th of 2026, and now based on the rollback rate for that. And now, having read that, open the public hearing on proposed budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. I've read that. Comments from the public? And are there any further comments or discussion than those we've heard already regarding the millage rate?
Commissioner May, last night you said something about bringing this back on the ballot to vote. Right now,
I said nothing of the sort. I said nothing of the sort. I mean, and so I don't want to get into a debate. Commissioner, the chairman said that, and so with all due respect, I had no comment on last night.
Point of order, Dr. Northrup.
Right? Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, no. Thing.
Dr. Northrup, point of order.
it doesn't matter who said it, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't matter who said it.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
That is a choice.
Point of order.
But
Dr.
I
Northrup.
mean,
You have a
Ma'am.
choice right now, just
We-
between
Ma'am,
This-
ma'am,
no millage rate. Where's the choice to ask it to go back on the ballot?
This, well, ma'am,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
we're out of
So-
order.
Bring that with no,
Mr. Chairman, I mean, we're getting ready to call. I mean, I'm certainly open to someone to come to the dais, but I don't want to have a conversation with someone out there. If it's your will for me to answer a question, I will. But I mean, we're about to call the question.
well, we have extended our meeting time already by 10 minutes beyond. I don't want to be cutting those off if we had no further forms submitted for comments on this part of the meeting. So with that in mind, the vote has been taken regarding the millage. And so we will be closing our public.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mary, with all due respect, because I respect everything that you do for the community, I'm happy to talk to you in the proper setting about any of your concerns as any tax.
I just want an answer to what I asked.
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to do it.
Outside?
I'm happy to do it. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. With closing the hearing with good lively discussion, we do appreciate that again. Any further comments from the board members? And hearing none, we will then, let me see now, no further motion to adopt Resolution 2025-13 as recommended by the Finance Committee. We have approved the rollback budget.
I motion to approve. Is that what-
Second.
Okay, all righty. Now, Ms. Ellis, would you please take a roll call vote on the proposed budget?
Mr. Leonard? Yes. Commissioner May?
Yes.
Dr. Northup?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Thank you. We have all in favor.
Okay, with a vote of 6-0, Resolution 2025-13 has been approved as well. No further business. We will be adjourning this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the meeting stands adjourned at 5:42. Now we will be getting ready to seat our regular board meeting.
Dr. Northup, whenever you're ready, sir.
I was like, that's worth it. I told Dave that, just keep over.
did, and the gentleman who's chairing this board, who was like, sit down, wait a minute, 30 seconds, I don't care, sit down. It's like, we will be convening our regular board meeting here in just a moment. And again, if people would like to address the board during this meeting, there are forms to do so over here by the hand sanitizer. Would encourage everyone to do that and welcome everyone's input who does do that.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, we are ready to convene the September 10th, 2025 routine, regularly scheduled meeting. Although I guess I cannot say it's the regularly scheduled meeting because the regularly scheduled meeting was last night, and we have postponed the meeting for one night due to usage of this room, as was mentioned previously, for the county commission, and they have dibs on the room first. So this is our postponed by one day meeting of the Escambia Children's Trust Board of Directors, getting underway a bit later than usual because of some lively discussion at the trim meeting, and that's good. Anyway, at 17:46 or 5:46, I will call this to order. And Ms. Ellis, could you form our roll call, please?
I have Ms. Kane as excused. Mr. Leonard? Here. Commissioner May? Dr. Northup?
Here.
Ms. White? Here. Mr. Williams?
Here.
Judge Williams?
Present.
Ms. Woods?
Present.
Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Williams, would you please lead our group in the pledge? Thank you. We'll now ask for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. The next is approval of the minutes from the August 12th regular board meeting as presented. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, deletions, modifications to those minutes? And hearing nothing and seeing nothing myself, then those minutes will stand as submitted. And the next item is the treasurer's report from Ms. Abrams, and that is included in our packet.
Thank you, Dr. Northup. So you've got your packet here. This is for financial reports through July 31st, 2025. And I am going to just help us make up a little bit of time, so I'm going to skim over some things that I don't need to cover in depth. On our budget, just so you know, we budgeted 5.94% of our expenses to be administrative. We are currently at 7.25 this year. That will get lower as more programs send in their reimbursements. When I do July's reports, none of the programs, or very few programs, actually have their reimbursement request in at that time. So that will go down as the month goes on. We did budget for $11,933,000 in property tax revenue. We budgeted for 96% of the amount that we could bill for, and we actually received 97%. So we did receive $11,988,000 this year. On your revenue and expense statement, you're going to see another line item you haven't seen before. It's called Other Miscellaneous Revenue. So that was not budgeted for. That is for the portion of the Pensacola Little Theater repayment that was recorded as expense in prior fiscal years. The money that was from this fiscal year went against the expenses for this year, but for prior fiscal year, talking to the auditor, we booked it as other revenue, and it will be back in, used again for the programs. We are at 75% of our fiscal year. We have spent 78% of our administrative budget and 66% of our program budget. Program budget is our largest line item. 11.8 million of our budget is all for program expenses. So the other big thing is that we had a balance on our awarded contracts of $10,900,000 and $20 million left in funding requested for their 3-year contract grants. So out of our $21 million that we have in the bank, $17 million will be used to cover that obligated requested balance, with $2.7 million being obligated out of future funding. And that is for the United Way Healthy Schools, that $2.7 million. If you look at our last, you got the obligated cash, that will show you exactly where the cash that we have in the bank is obligated to, the different contracts, and that is the last page of your packet. So if you have any questions, I can answer. Okay.
Okay, and reflecting back on our prior discussion of the trim budget and things, I'm noting you're on the 3rd page of our bit here, the last bit of the summary. Programs have surrendered a total of $5,369,613 that was awarded but not spent, and that those dollars revert to the trust and are then utilized for funding of ongoing funding of those programs and or other uses that again fall within the scope and interest of the trust.
Yes. So all of our grants are done on a reimbursement basis. So we don't pay any money to the contracts or to the providers up front. They have to submit all receipts to us, and we pay them month by month as they submit their receipts, and we go through them and review them and ask them questions. When we're good and we're clear with everything, we pay them for that month that was they've already done. So when it reverts back to us, it's all on paper because I have it obligated on paper, and when they don't spend it at the end of the contract period, I'm able to put that back as unobligated funding that we are able to use again for other programs.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments, questions regarding the finance? The staff recommendation is to file the financial report for the month ending July 31, 2025 as presented. Okay, thank you. And the next item of business is public comments. And do we have any individuals? I'm not aware, don't see any papers or requests for that. So we will go to the next item. It's a special presentation by Girls Incorporated. And thank you, and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for allowing me to speak this evening about all the great things that happened with our 3rd annual My Selfie Needs No Filter Summer Camp. And I know you can probably hear my voice right now. I've been a little under the weather. I feel a lot better right now. I'm not contagious, but I'm still coming down off of something. So I apologize for sounding nasally. I promise I won't sing. I go by Erica Lanes. I am the founder and president of Girls Incorporated. This summer marked the 7th My Selfie Needs No Filter summer camp that we actually did in our area, and it proved to be one of the most successful camps to date. Engagement, attendance, and enthusiasm were notably higher than in the previous years. We delivered a comprehensive and culturally responsive summer program tailored to girls aged 13 to 18 from diverse backgrounds. Notably, 100% of our current Girls Club members enrolled in this year's summer camp, showing strong program cohesion and continuity. And we are going to talk about the Girls Club in just a moment. Now, am I driving this, or do I say slide, click? What? Okay. Well, I did click it. It's all right. I'm just saying. Okay. Okay. This summer, we expanded our operational infrastructure. We onboarded 4 assistant directors, all of whom had deep ties to the program, a returning staff member, a 7-camp veteran, a former college intern, and one who joined as a camper 3 years ago and came back as an assistant director. We also recruited a diverse group of volunteers and leaders. These leaders were provided with a half-day training on operations, and we initiated a new partnership with Feeding the Gulf Coast to manage daily food service. Camp staff received training in inventory tracking, food assessments, and reporting protocols. In total, we engaged 10 volunteers, each contributing to various aspects of camp life, including transportation, activity coordination, cleanup, and mentorship support. Recruitment for this year's camp yielded 119 total registrations, and we went through every single one of them. With 71 girls officially enrolled and 64 successfully completing the program, a 90% retention rate. Of the 71 who attended, 68 were ECT-supported campers. The camp was hosted at the Real Women Radio Foundation office complex. The ladies there once again provided us with welcoming accommodations and exceptional support. Our program opened with a celebratory summer kickoff barbecue. This is how we start all of our summer camps. Like, you cannot have a summer camp without barbecue. I mean, we had hamburgers, hot dogs. We had popsicles, like the whole 9 yards, adding a festive tone that continued throughout the summer session. Camp programming was structured around our signature 5 selfie pillars: self-esteem, self-confidence, self-respect, self-care, and self-love. Each day centered around one of these themes, with 3 to 4 daily summer workshops led by professional men and women from our local community. Workshops included painting your emotions with a licensed artist, career and college readiness with representatives from the University of West Florida, music therapy and empowerment with a female DJ who is also an LCSW, which was really fun, health and beauty, smart decision making, and that was an engagement delivered by the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, also highlighting self-driven success, financial budgeting, and understanding that teen pregnancy could mean trading a day at the nail salon and mall for a day stuck at home changing dirty diapers and cleaning throw up from your favorite hoodie, which they did not seem like they wanted to trade that out, which was great. Morning Girls Talk circles covered topics such as social media pressure, assertive communication, teen pregnancy prevention, substance use awareness, and leadership. What is a summer camp without going outside? Enrichment activities included fun and bonding field trips to the Pensacola History Museum, the pool, and the skating rink. And to add a little razzle-dazzle to our summer program, we did not go by way of a chunky yellow school bus. We took a party bus everywhere we went. So they heard us coming, they saw us coming with the neon lights, and this just helped to boost morale and promote further sisterhood. I think the adults enjoyed the party bus more than the girls did. The camp concluded with a powerful show and tell session, giving each camper a chance to build public speaking skills while reflecting on meaningful personal experiences. All the girls who completed the summer camp participated in our end of camp graduation ceremony. Certificates, goodie bags, pizza party, music, dancing, TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. These girls love TikTok dances, and that is what we allowed them to do. To assess the program's impact, we administered pre- and post-camp surveys to the campers. These included 3 quantitative self-report questions measuring perceptions of leadership, self-confidence, and decision-making using a 5-point Likert scale, with 1 meaning strongly disagree and then 5 strongly agree. A total of 61 campers completed both the pre- and post-test surveys. The findings revealed meaningful self-perceived growth across key social emotional skill areas. Under leadership, 46% showed an increase in their self-perceived leadership abilities. 1 camper, representing 2%, reported a decrease. Self-confidence, 31% reported increased confidence from pre to post-test. And then under decision-making, 34% indicated an increase in their ability to make thoughtful and informed decisions. 3 campers, representing 5%, reported a decrease in these areas. Something that we realized is on the pre-test, that's before the programming began with the summer camp. Some of the girls came in and reported their self-esteem on a 4 or on a 5. It wasn't until the end of the summer camp when they learned what self-confidence was, what leadership really meant, that they realized, well, maybe I'm not on a 5. Maybe I'm more like a 3 or more like a 4. So that's where we saw those decreases come in. I put this up here. It looks really wordy, but I felt like this was very important because this came from a young lady who's 14 years old, homeschooled. She's very introverted, and her mother reached out to me before she came to the summer camp and let us know, we don't know how this is going to go with her. She's very particular in terms of her social circles. One of the things that we did at the end of the camp is we asked also qualitative questions, open-ended, and one of them was, what was your favorite part of the camp and why? And this is what this young lady said. As you can see, she had a blast, and I had to make sure that I shared this on our social media platforms with the approval of her parent, and when her mom read this, of course, there were tears of joy. She said, I loved listening to the stories. The book was amazing, wonderful author. I love to paint your emotions. I would absolutely love to meet that guy and work with him on art again. Super wonderful man. I loved Andy the cop. I hope he's doing okay. He's a wonderful man. That guy changed my perspective on men. I am scared of most men, and I won't lie that when I saw him, I was scared of him at first glance. After I heard his story, it completely changed how I think about not just men, but people in general. That guy truly is a man. I stood up and shook his hand after his speech and introduced myself. I truly hope to make a difference like he did. I love the skating rink. I live for skating. It was great. I love that when it was time to get serious, it was serious. I love to talk about hygiene and sex. I never really learned anything from my schooling about stuff like that. I learned from my parents, don't worry. And I overall think it's a great topic to talk about. The story, I forgot the name, of the one girl that died of an overdose. I love the fact that her story is being told, because what most people don't understand is that this was a human, a person with a life and hopes and dreams, and drug overdose awareness is something I fully believe should be talked about more. I loved all of the stories and the energy that was beautifully poured into it. Perspectives in my heart changed after this camp. What more do you want? How would you describe this camp to a friend who has never been before? And this was not from this same young lady. This was a totally different camper. It's where you're around girls your age and guided by strong women who have been through it, and they're not afraid to tell you the truth. It's about growing, laughing, learning, and healing. You learn stuff no one teaches you at school, like how to forgive yourself. protect your peace and not repeat the pain your mama or auntie went through? And then the other, same question, how would you describe the camp to a friend who has never been? The best experience you can have. It gives great understanding of female empowerment and what it looks like to walk through the world as a teenage girl. My eyeballs are just sweating. I'm not crying. We secured both monetary and in-kind support from private donors, government entities such as the Escambia County Sheriff's State Law Enforcement Trust Fund, and a new community partnership, as mentioned before, Feeding the Gulf Coast, and of course, the Escambia Children's Trust. One particularly heartwarming example was a supporter from Miami, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot make this up, who handcrafted, customized My Selfie Needs No Filter bracelets for every camper. When shipping delays became a concern, she personally, I put traveled, but she drove overnight to Pensacola from Miami to hand deliver the bracelets before the camp ended. And this is me and her to the left, and then one of her school friends or friends from school to the right, and then those are pictures of the bracelets. She just fell in love with what it is that we do and said, I'm coming. So what now? Following the success and completion of the My Selfie Needs No Filter summer camp, all participants were invited to complete an interest form for the 2025-2026 program year of the Girls Club, our leadership program. This invitation was sent prior to opening registration to the public, allowing our campers to receive priority/VIP access. As a result, 40% of campers submitted forms expressing interest in continuing their summer journey with us. 75 expressed interest, 27 were selected. The Girls Club Cabinet, that is our newest thing that we are starting this year. This is a leadership team made up of 6 of the Girls Club members who applied to be cabinet members and were chosen. They understand that serving on the cabinet is an honor and a responsibility. Cabinet members are leaders, role models, and active voices in our community and shaping the direction of the Girls Club. To be selected for this role, each participant had to submit a 30 to 60-second video answering the question, why should you be selected to serve on the Girls Club Cabinet? I didn't know whether to be proud and excited or scared when I got some of these videos. We got raps, we got song and dances, we got renditions from Coming to America. I know some of you have seen that movie. They were very creative, really proud. Some just completely froze in front of the camera, but I was proud that they at least tried. And this is just a little glimpse of what some has said.
Hi, I'm Mariana Gaden. I am 17 and I'm currently in the 12th grade. I'm very passionate about leadership and I want young girls to feel empowered and supported just like I have. I feel that I should be selected to be on the Girls Club Cabinet because I'm honest, dependable, trustworthy, and a great leader. And I could make you laugh. Like, I might be shy just at first, but once I get to know you, we're gonna be giggling and having a blast. My experience I've had with Miss Erica it's changed my life. Honestly, it's given me different perspectives of life and even myself, and it's just really had an impact on me. I believe that with my knowledge I have now, I can use it to empower other girls and help them with problems that may be similar to the things I used to go through. If I'm selected, I would help other girls my age, younger, and even older build confidence and help them understand their purpose and what the Girls Club is all about. I thank you so much for the opportunity and I would be so honored to serve the cabinet. I'm excited to make a difference for other young women and thank you.
So cute, right? 17 years old, Miss Mariana. 14 years old.
I know that's very important. Oh, hi there. Yes, one moment, Madam President. Hi, my name is Erin Sinet, and this is why I think I should be considered for a Girls Club Cabinet. What Girls Club means to me is being able to have a safe community, and I want to provide that for younger girls my age, older, and younger. Being on the cabinet means you get both perspectives, older and younger, because I'm smack dab in the middle at 14. And I could use my voice to speak out and make everyone's side heard. And in the wise words of Aaron Burr, no one really know how the game is played. We are who test how the sausage gets made. We just assume that it happened, because no one else was in the room where it happened. I wanna be in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. I wanna be in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. Now, if you'll excuse me, Madam President's on the phone. Bye.
In the room where it happened. No one else was in the room where it happened. The room where it happened. The room where it happened.
Good stuff. Needless to say, those two were one of the ones chosen. And last but not least, one of my favorite success stories that came from our summer camp and our girls club that I would like to share with you. I would like for you to meet Miss McKenna. She is one of our most inspiring young leaders at just 15 years old. McKenna is the proud founder of Mural Snack Shack, a bold, Black-owned, women-led lemonade stand offering creative flavors like Lavender Garden and Tropical Island Wave. Not only did McKenna sell out her very first day, but she also launched a delivery option, catered corporate events, and continues to operate with energy and professionalism beyond her years. Her enthusiasm, work ethic, and charisma earned her our Life of the Party Award during the camp. McKenna embodies what Girls Club stands for: confidence, leadership, creativity, and purpose, and we are beyond proud of her success and look forward to continuing to support her growth. The My Selfie Needs No Filter Summer Camp provided a safe space for girls to see their own power, build confidence, and step into leadership lanes. As you can see, the journey does not end when the summer camp does. Through the Girls Club, our campers and other team members from our community continue to grow, lead, and give back, turning the lessons they learn into action and impact where they live, learn, work, and worship. The Girls Club is where confidence meets leadership, and selfies need no filter. Thank you all for believing in them and for investing in their potential and for standing with us as we continue this important work. The best is yet to come, and these girls are ready to lead the way with your continued support. Thank you. Any questions? Am I supposed to stand for questions?
No,
Yes.
no question, just
No
comment. You know, we know each other from way back, and I'm just really, really proud of what you're doing in the community. And this is an example of someone who was doing this even before she received the funds. She was this type of advocate for kids in our community. So
Yeah.
I commend you. Thank you for what you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was very impressive. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. You've always done great.
Thank you.
And a lot of your girls I see in our programs, and the etiquettes that they have is commendable. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay.
These are things that I would hope our participants from our prior discussion would avail themselves of presentations like this that are so informative and things. So, well, but, anyway, impressive. Thank you for your contributions yourself. Business operations, nothing noted there. Programs, presentation of year-end mental health program report. Ms. Ray.
Thank you. Good evening, board. We shared the report with the program committee earlier, and we also had an opportunity to visit with each of our mental health program providers. So in our initial conversations, we definitely wanted to go over a checklist that would be new to the renewal process and something that will continue to be reflected and moving forward and incorporated in their quarterly reports. Now, none of this, although it's our first time doing a formal checklist, these are not new categories as far as what those expectations have been. It is allow us to make sure as we're reviewing and going towards year 3 that we have met all of their contractual proposed obligations, and if not, we have those conversations as to why, any necessary adjustments. So this was the first time that we had this level of conversation, but not the first time that we would review with each of the providers prior to the program committee. This allows them to look at the graphs. The graphs have been a little bit more detailed, as we saw in the OST reports. It captures the initial dosages as well as their proposed participants, as well as the proposed dollars and the spent dollars. So we wanted them to be able to ask clarifying questions prior to that meeting. So that definitely was accomplished. They also had an opportunity to attend the program committee. I see a few of them that are here today, and they were able to answer any clarifying questions that that board had at the time as far as the program committee. So we may have made adjustments since that as well. So you can look at those categories, and I'm not going to go over each of them, but the outcome of those review resulted in making some adjustments to some of the programs. So there are only 5, so it's not like our out-of-school time where we're looking at 15, but we can look at each of them, remind everyone of their dosages and services, as well as discussions that took place in those preliminary meetings with those providers. So it was important for us. I think year one, we looked at it. They, not knowing how the programming was going to look like, they allowed them for those initial adjustments in year one. In year two, they made them, and going into year three, we should be on that slide towards meeting those dosages and services according to proposal. If not, do we need to do a change of scope before year three? Do we need to clarify? Do we need to reduce, and so forth? So if you look at Boys and Girls Club, we wanted to look at each of the mental health components of their grant. And, they have OST, and they also have mental health as an additional service. So looking at their 3 programs of yoga and meditation, nutritional cooking classes, and Insight Club counseling. You can see there, if you go to the next page, we have the change of scope on the left, but before I review that, because we were not going to vote on that today as far as that, but I just wanted to explain to you as to why that came into play for them in making those changes to their program for year 3. So if we look at their initial program budget, their total expenditures, and their proposed number versus actual. Now this was from August to June. And so I looked at those numbers just to verify if there were going to be any changes, because ending it in June, they may not have met that number, but I wanted to anticipate through July and their end of contract being before October if they were going to meet it. So if you look at there's a difference about 100 proposed students. It wouldn't be likely that they would meet that prior to their going into year 3. So we had that discussion. There were some explanations that were provided. They needed to get some permission from parents, especially on the one-on-one counseling. Parents not having a full understanding as to the type of conversations that may even happen during yoga and the culinary part, which typically are highly attended programs. And so I think just having those additional conversations with parents and opportunities for family engagement may assist in that. But I think they did a good thing in looking at their programs. There are some attendance issues that could happen. And so Mr. Stone was going to work with that team. They were purchasing iPads even to do their attendance in real time. If you go there, their out of school time, we visited Montclair. They had over 150 kids. So if you're not taking that attendance in real time, you could forget very well who participated in each of those programs. So they're working closely with Rick so that they can capture that at the time of the program and that participation. So I think that's going to be helpful in moving forward. They did submit a change of scope, reducing their proposed number of participants to 260 from that original 350, and also reducing their finances by about 27%. So I think having those conversations and offering those explanations, and them being good stewards of their finances, and noticing, I think this is the second year that we've noticed their expenditures have been lower consistently. And so for them to allow that money to be freed so that that could be returned and it would be unobligated, and we can make those adjustments as necessary to other programs and needs throughout the community. Any questions about boys and girls? Okay. You can see how the graphs are, and I think it was kind of a shock when you're looking at it this way. We're going to encourage our programs to not look at it mid-year or annually. Like, this is information that everyone has access to, even monthly if they wanted to look at their trends. So you can see there, it's going to give you the number of days that the programs are offered. So for example, if you look at October, look at in-club counseling, 17 sessions were offered in October. And then if you look at the number of participants attending services, you have 26. And then it does give you a breakdown of those 26 participants, their average monthly attendance is there. So you would see 4, they average 4 times of those 26 participants. So it gives you very granular data that you can have those ongoing conversations with staff, breaking it down by each of the programs, the trends that they're seeing, if attendance was recorded accurately. I think that communication during the reimbursement period is frequently asked, are you sure you have captured all of your attendance? And that just allows us to clarify if it's accurate and if it goes along with the dollars that they have spent in that given month during that reimbursement time. Next, we have lamplighters, and I did see Mr. Freeman and Mr. Glee here as well. If you have any additional questions for them, they are here in person to clarify or offer those explanations. So we did the exact same thing, having those discussions with Lamplighter, looking at their summary of dosages and services, looking at each of those items to see where we are in moving forward. A frequent question that may be asked, if you're not spending all of your dollars and before you relinquish them, to make sure that they're able to, with the residual fundings, are able to attain each of those services as well as the goals and objectives that they projected in those initial proposals. So you can see there, as far as within their budget, they had a recommendation. We didn't need a change of scope because they were going to still serve the same number of participants and programming comparable to their initial proposal, but it was reduced in year 3 by $51,750. So from $285,315 to $233,565. So those adjustments were made in the areas of salaries and wages, equipment, facilities, lease, and uniforms. You can see the same thing there as far as with their proposed number and actual. They will have met their proposed number by the time of their renewal of the contract and met their dosages and goals as well. So I believe there were some questions when looking at the budget and moving forward and clarification. So unsure if you have any additional questions of this board in looking forward, so that you can see the same information, looking at their different services that they offer monthly, like academic services, esteem and self-efficacy development, mental health services, mentoring, and self-care promotion. We had an opportunity to see the young men prior to what would have been like a showcase game, but the Navarre game, we visited the day before, got rained out, so unfortunately didn't get a chance to do that, but they came across as very confident men, excited about the season, and spoke very fondly of their experiences within their program. Any questions about Lamplighters, budgets, anything while we have their presence? No? Good. New World Believers, we have Mr. Rodney Jones. Like I said, we visited each of these programs. We were able to clarify some areas for Mr. Jones as well, but if we look at their financial review, there were discussions about adjusting their budget, and they're going to reduce it by about $26,996 from their original $597,463 to $570,467. He, at the start of year 2, also submitted a change of scope so that they can go beyond the initial restrictions of zip codes. They were 32501 and 32505. They've expanded to allow for their growth and recommendations from DJJ to see any participant throughout Escambia County, and also to extend their participant incentives to go beyond their 90 days. It allows for those who did not participate consistently in that original cycle to still reap the rewards of the participant dollars that they get to spend through their continuous participation and dedication to program and those services. Any questions on New World Believers? We clarified for them some attendance questions that we had while we were there. And looking at some of the numbers, you can see some of the patterns that we saw. If you look at the number of days of program services are offered, some of the numbers look very much the same. And so at any point, he could have 50 participants attend in one day. Undoubtedly, they're not going to go to each one of these services each one at a time. So we're just talking about really capturing what they are participating in when they are there. So they do have a large building. They're able to divide and conquer. They have informed and trained staff that can break those groups up to allow for more of those intimate conversations, collaboration. And so we ask that they capture that exactly how they are divided on those given days. And so we would have a little bit more authentic data, and they totally understood. We know that they're there in the neighborhoods, they're doing great work. We just want to help them to capture that more accurately so that we can answer those questions accordingly. Any questions on hoops? All right. And we had,
Deborah,
yes, yes, sir.
Puzzled, confused, not clear on each of these programs you've talked about. You've got two graphs here, and Rick is there as well. It's probably user interpretation. Number of participants attending program services monthly. And just for example, I'm looking at the Montclair Elementary School chart. And then immediately on the opposite page, average monthly attendance for program services. And I'm just arbitrarily picking a month of March. And under the number of participants attending program services monthly, I'm looking at the one nutrition and cooking. I've got 96. You got that page again. It's the Montclair Elementary School.
Oh, I'm looking at Inglewood too. Sorry.
Or I can pick any of those.
Yep, that's all right, that's all right. Right, so if we're looking at Montclair, right, so the number of
attending
participants,
program services monthly.
Right.
Looking at nutrition and cooking, I see
Yes.
96. As I'm interpreting that, then 96 kids participated in the month of March.
Right.
In that. Now, the very next, the opposite page, average monthly attendance for program services, I'm looking at March again. And I'm looking at the same one, nutrition and cooking, and it says 2.
Right.
Now,
Right,
is
so
one
if
of them
you,
an average daily attendance versus an average monthly attendance? Why am I seeing 96 kids participated under March in that program, but an average of 2 kids for the month? As I say, I'm just puzzled by that.
so the
graph.
total number, or the average number of those 96 in March, they only attended twice. So it gives you an average of a participant and their average attending the programs that they were offered. So a total of 96, but
96 kids. but
Right.
The average
times that they
times
participate
attended
is,
that was
right, is twice. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not 2 kids on the
No,
bottom there.
no, it's how many times that they attend the
Those
available
96
offerings.
kids attended that offering.
Right, yes.
Okay. All right. So that helps clarify that. So on all of these, that's what those 2 are noting is 1 is the number of attendees, and then the one opposite page, average monthly attendance for program services is the number of times that they attended. Now I'm looking at, what is this, Pensacola High School, number, pick April, 53 went to mentoring, but of those 53, on average, they only attended 3 mentoring sessions.
Right, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Right, that granular data will tell you that they are going to be successful on their overall outcomes, right? It's almost like school attendance, right? A student that's there for 95% of the time is going to have better outcome than those that attend for 80% of the time. So it gives you that granular data as to, are you reaching your outcomes? Was it because you didn't have consistent attendance? And a lot of them are able to tell a story. If you're looking at secondary, you have kids that are involved in multiple programs, right? Or have makeup activities and things like that, enrichment that they have to do. So the data allows them to see it, but also to offer any explanation as to what could be a possible barrier to continuous participation and the attainment of their proposed goals. Does that make more sense, Dr. Northrup, as far as?
Yes. Thank you for that explanation.
No, absolutely. Twin Oaks, they have a unique tiered system of supports. You will look at the change of scope also that they have done at the early onset of year 2 to also expand to other zip codes around the county due to referrals from DJJ, et cetera, and just surveying their families as to the need in other locations. So their tier 1, you're going to see they yield the most numbers, and that's going to be due to their outreach component of their program. Tier 2, it gets a little bit more on an individual basis as far as their reach out, the initial needs that their participants may have, and then from there, they make recommendations for tier 3 and tier 4 support. So as you see the tiers, some of the numbers will decrease. You're gonna have the largest at outreach, and then it's scaled down to accommodate more of the more informal needs to those individual participants and their families. That program budget is also there, their total expenditures, and looking at the recommendations from our meeting, that they, in year 3, they are requesting to reduce it by $12,000. So you can see the amounts there. They also explained that with their change of scope, in addition to the zip codes, they have ambassadors, and so initially, they proposed a larger number for reimbursement or to give back, but they had to take into account that their staff had not been hired to accommodate the ambassadors, and still had some other staff members that had not been hired as of yet. So they took into account, and it had a lesser number for that overall amount to return from their grant. So if you look at their graphs and their tier services, you will see the large amounts of the outreach. They had a total of 136 sessions that were captured from October to June. You can see the number of interactions as well as adult interactions in that process of the tiered outreach support, and then the breakdown of the other services that are offered beyond the outreach components. Same type of information that we see from the other ones, and a breakdown of each of their services that are offered monthly, as well as the frequency of that attendance are broken down as well. We had some in-depth discussions about their tier 2, 3, and 4, and some of those activities, just that we are able to ask those questions that may be asked of us, and looking at some of those numbers, looking lower in some of those other programs as far as how many times they attend beyond capturing that initial participation. Youth Left Behind, last but not least, they have a lower budget than a lot of our programs. When you visit Hassan and Miss Katrina and their team out there, you can see signs that are outlined of their program, of all of their in-kind and their alternate funding sources that they have. So they've captured that beautifully in this report as far as the sustainability projections that they have, and getting out in the community and sharing their data, and also getting those donations to their program. So you're not going to see any changes for that proposal to reduce cost and/or participants. In fact, he also did a change of scope at the onset of theirs to incorporate 9-year-olds, 9 to 18, because of some of the older siblings, that he wanted to make those adjustments so he could serve the families, as well as going outside of the 32501 and 32505 zip codes. Okay. Any questions overall? Mental health program renewal and where we currently stand?
I do want to make a comment. Based on the program committee, just so you know, typically we would have a call for renewal of contracts at this point. There were a lot of very detailed financial questions that were being asked, so you are seeing a drop in these, but we've gone back, and this is unfortunately poor mental health. They're like the first ones that always get this from us, but it is a shift related to their line item budgets. We've asked them to go back. Tammy's done a really great job of putting together a line item budget that shows you exactly how to pinpoint formulas. I think some of our organizations that are larger and have a lot of support know how to do this. They've done it for a while. Some of our others don't, and we're working with them through that. But going into year 3, they need to really have a true understanding of what their cost is and how they're getting to those numbers. So we'll be bringing that back to the next program committee. We've given them time to go back and look at that budget so that we can make sure that we're matching budget and line item that makes sense to program. And then we'll go ahead and call for an approval. We'll bring those back to the October meeting for approval if everybody's satisfied on the program committee. And then we'll, of course, make sure that those grants start October 1st so that there won't be any gap for children. So even though our meeting's a little later. So I just wanted to clarify that on the budget. Even though they've done some reductions, we do want to look at what they're actually paying for, because this will be a great thing for our providers when they're looking for other funding to be able to really capture that as well, and knowing their true costs. So,
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and Mr. Freeman, Mr. Glee here from Lamplighters. I didn't know if they wanted to say anything at this time. If it's all right with,
Yes,
with the board.
thank you.
Good evening, board. Just echoing what Ms. Cannon said, it's certainly year 2 for us was a learning lesson for Pensacola High School football. When we arrived at the Pride program, they had 24 football players, and Pensacola High School football was probably at its lowest it's been in probably 20 years. They now have close to 85 players. This year has been a struggle so far as on the field, but off the field, they have some of their highest grades that they've had. The young men are reporting to be a lot more confident. The referrals are down for football players. They are bought in. They've taken their bumps. They've played probably the 3 best teams in our district the first 3 games of the year. But we're confident in long-term this team and the players being successful, not just on the field, but off the field. Coach McKinney wanted to come tonight to tell you how much the Pride program has benefited his program. Things have not been perfect for him or for the program, but we've learned a lot. We've learned about some of the supports that are there that the school offers that has helped us to reduce our budget, and we're thankful for those partnerships. The school sees what we're doing, and they have allowed us to partner with them in a way that's very unique to Pensacola High School. So we fully expect for the 4 seniors who are playing this year to graduate and not just finish playing football, but to go on to college or to trades. And they have about closer to 70% of their players who are 9th and 10th graders who are playing varsity football for the first time. So they will take some of their bumps on the field, but they're a lot more resilient than the teams have been in the past. So we thank you for your patience with this project that we've had, and we believe that year 3 will probably be our most successful year as far as outcomes are concerned. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay. Lindsay, I have here on my agenda that mental health year 3 renewal update. Have you got anything further to add? Okay. And then sticking with you, Early Learning Coalition School Readiness Year 3 match.
Yes, this will be going into our third year of our contract with Early Learning Coalition for match for school readiness dollars. There is no change in their requested revenue. What is attached to this that's a little bit different is we're starting to really pull these reports together for you all, so you have the visual. There is a synopsis of what this project is, what our match does, and then where we're serving. So we would recommend this. We've met with the program committee. We recommend going forward with this. We know at this time really how important early childhood education is, and the difference that we can make for working families specifically, which is who are the benefactors of our match dollars.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you say match, are we matching what they're bringing in? Because I thought a match was we're matching what they have, but the members don't match. Does that not mean that we match that 50-50? What does match mean?
It's a dollar for dollar match that you have to bring in, and it has to be local dollars. There is a gap in funding from the state that creates a financial challenge for families. And so the request for the match local is for the gap to be covered too. So that's why you're seeing the differential between, oh my gosh, let me put on my glasses. The 186, 786 to the 238, there is a month there that we cover through local funds. Again, that was something that was with the county that had done that in the past for the match. And that is the way it's been structured from the Department of Early Learning.
So that's why we're giving 238 and the state funding is 179?
It's now 186.
Okay.
So, that's the new request.
So
So they
difference-
did get a slight increase, but they did not ask for an increase from us. They're able to cover some of that.
So the reason is we're not giving 186 is because we fill in the gap.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, there's like a month gap
Okay.
around the funding.
Other questions? Okay. The recommendation is the program committee recommended approval of resolution 2025-14, allowing for year 3 renewal of the Early Learning Coalition School Readiness Match contract. And do I have a motion? Okay, thank you.
Second.
And it's been seconded. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And now, legal report from Megan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Really no substantive update for the board, other than just to remind the board that, of course, the request for exemption from the CRA tax incremental revenue for years 21 through 24 remains pending with the City of Pensacola. That was submitted at the end of July. The statutory framework contemplates a public hearing within 120 days to consider that request. That has not yet been set. That would mark right at the end of December. It's our understanding from conversation with the city attorney that it will be a very similar process to with the county, with the exemption being hopefully granted and entering into an interlocal agreement with the city. Of course, we don't know that yet, but all signs point to that being the process. Mr. Cobb did request kind of a form interlocal agreement, and I provided to him what we submitted to the county. That was last week, so I anticipate I'll hear from him shortly. And of course, we'll continue to update the board on that process. And nothing further from the legal report.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions, comments, discussion from the board? And with that in mind, we'll move for adjournment, and apologize for the longer meeting time here, but thank everyone for their input, and thank you all for attending as well.